Prepare to experience the strongest radio allowable by law. Secrets will be revealed. Myths dispelled. From the studio gym where excuses never apply, it's Superhuman Radio with your host, Carl Lenore.
This is Science for Humans with Dr. Jeff Galini.
So this morning, Dr. Jeff and I did a mic check, and I couldn't hear him, and then realized that I had my headphones turned off. Hope that's no indication about how the rest of the day is going to go, Dr. J.
Oh, that's kind of one of the common things. Make sure it's turned on first, right?
Make sure it's plugged in before you call.
Yeah, exactly.
Call for service. So branched chain amino acids. Ironically, branched chain amino acids have been very popular among strength athletes for their potential muscle building effects. But Life Extension Foundation published an article about 3 years ago linking BCAAs to better aging, less disease, and longer lives. Isn't that interesting?
It is very interesting. I mean, I think, people have heard of BCAAs, people use them, but I think they just haven't really looked into, what they're doing and why it's so important.
Okay, so what are BCAAs, and why did they decide to call them branched chain amino acids?
Oop, I kind of lost you there.
Oh, what are BCAAs, and why do we call them branch chain amino acids?
That's a good one. BCAAs do stand for branched chain amino acids, and they are they're 3 of 9 essential amino acids. And an essential amino acid means that our body doesn't produce it, so we've got to get it from an outside source. Now, it's interesting. The reason why somebody, and I didn't have time to find out who the somebody was, named it a branch chain, is that these aminos actually have these side chains with branches. So you've got a central carbon atom that's bound to 2 or 3 other carbon atoms. So again, they kind of branch out like a tree. Somebody said, hey, let's call them branched chain amino acids. Sounds good to me. But they're comprised of leucine, isoleucine, and valine.
Now, leucine is a really important, in fact, it could be said that the quality of all proteins are gauged by whether or not they're leucine rich. So leucine is probably one of the most important of all the amino acids. And interesting enough, it's one of the BCAAs, isn't it? Did I lose you, Dr. J?
Yeah, you're kind of cutting in and out a little bit on me, but
I'm sorry about that. We'll do a reconnect during the break. But I was just saying, I don't know if you heard that. Leucine proteins are rated by how much leucine they have in them. So leucine's a very important amino acid, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you got to, before looking at why BCAAs together, you got to look at the individuals. And when you look at leucine, it is what causes basically the whole protein uptake. Without leucine, you are not going to absorb protein. It's probably the king of things, especially when it comes to aminos. If you think about leucine, kind of like the key to your ignition. It isn't the ignition, but it's what starts the car. The same with training or protein. It is what ignites the muscle cell fibers, that kind of kick in and start that whole protein synthesis, which is called MPS, muscle protein synthesis.
What are BCAAs best used for?
They are used for, recuperation and recovery. That's the whole reason why you want to use a BCAA, which relates to just about every athlete. When you look at what happens, when you are exercising or training, I used to use the word you are expending BCAAs, but those are the 3 aminos that essentially are used during intense exercise. So by replenishing those amino acids as quickly as possible, you're going to recover, you're going to recuperate. As you said, there's a lot of research now going on showing because of this that it's good for a whole lot of other things.
From the life extension world, it's really important to avoid muscle wasting as you age. They're saying that's where they were coming from. We see lots of ratios out there, people who fool around with the ratios, but the original ratio for BCAAs, the way they're found in nature, they have a specific ratio. What is that?
Well, and it's interesting because there's been a lot of research done on BCAAs, and just a few really have talked about the ratio. But, when you talk about, leucine being kind of the king and the most important, what a lot of companies have done is they've elevated their ratio. So we're going to talk about, first of all, the perfect ratio being 2-1-1, which is 2 parts leucine, 1 part isoleucine, 1 part valine. So you might think, well, geez, why not only use leucine if leucine is really what causes all of the protein intake? Well, again, the reason you don't want to, there was a study done at Baylor University where they actually gave one group leucine, a second group a BCAA in a 2-1-1 ratio, and guess what? Oh, it was a placebo group too, but the 2-1-1 ratio actually had more MPS than the other two groups. So again, it showed that these other aminos are very important. But one of the sneaks in the dietary supplement industry is you have to remember that leucine is the least expensive of these two.
Really?
Yeah, isoleucine is relatively expensive and valine is more expensive. So by elevating the leucine from 2-1-1 to 6-1-1 to 10-1-1, I even saw an 18-1-1. They're going to tell you that, again, leucine is what you want, to the point where some people are going to probably say, forget all the other two because they're not important. But again, it really comes down to they're trying to get their costs down. That's the reason why they're doing that, Carl. There's no real science behind it. Because if you look at, if you take valine out of the equation, when you train, your body produces tryptophan, which goes to the brain, produces all the serotonins. What does that do? Causes fatigue, tiredness. Valine competes with the brain to absorb before that tryptophan.
Right.
And it wins. So by having that BCAA, that valine in your system before you train, during training, you're going to have more valine in your system, which again, it supplies, extra glucose to the muscles, makes you mentally, alert, great for training. So again, not having these in the right ratios really can be counterproductive. But the main reason is it's cheap.
Okay. What's the advantage of taking a free-form BCAA versus just getting a protein source that's high in BCAAs, like a dairy protein?
Well, you want to make sure that the proteins that you do use are complete proteins. And most of the proteins out there are. Like you said, their nature did a great job making sure that it had ample amounts of leucine and ample amounts of of isoleucine and valine. But the protein takes time through digestion and absorption. So we're looking at, whey protein being, 3-4 hours. Too long. By taking in a free form, it's going to be absorbed and uptake a lot quicker. So to take a protein supplement before you train is worthless. So many people at the gym I see are drinking their whey protein as they're coming into the gym. And it's like, what are you doing? Oh, well, I'm trying to get my amino acids in for training. No, that's going to do nothing more than bloat you down and, probably get you sick. You got to take a free form, and you got to get it into your system about 30 minutes before you train in order for it to be available.
Because the free form amino acids are absorbed right through the lining of the stomach. They don't have to be digested, right?
Correct. When you think about proteins, you've got your body first has to digest that down. And when we talk about digestion, we mean breaking apart the proteins from the sugars, from the fats, vitamins, and whatever else is in there. Then your body has to take that protein and break it down into amino acids. And then it's going to basically pre-digest those amino acids before they actually can be absorbed. When you're looking at a free form, essentially you can call it pre-digested, ready to go. Mm-hmm. Usually a good BCAA within about 20 minutes is usually in the bloodstream and ready to go to work.
How often or how much, what kind of dosages and how frequently should you be using BCAAs throughout the day?
And, that's another controversial marketing ploy, because when you look at, what are the therapeutic dosages, I went through probably a dozen studies, which are the most quoted studies out there, and I really couldn't find anything that said how much you need. So I think a lot of times people, first of all, take too much. Again, it's a marketing ploy. If I'm a company, you trust me, and I tell you to take 30 grams of BCAAs, you're going to probably do it. But guess what? You're going to use a bottle up in a week. So I like to always find what is the ample dose that's going to be effective. So taking about, 2.5 to 5 grams prior to exercise is probably the optimal dose. Now, again, it's going to be based on size, gender, activity levels. But again, these are just some guidelines. So if you're taking, 100 milligrams, not quite enough. If you're taking 20 or 30 grams, you're probably taking too much. Because again, if you can't absorb it, it's just going to come out the other end as waste. You can take them. I do see some people use them as intra. That's fine. And you can use them as a post. The key is that you take them around workout time.
Uh-huh.
I don't think there's any, exact best time to do it. Personally, I like to take it beforehand, because they're going to be ready after a workout. Sometimes when you take things after a workout, I see people mixing their BCAAs with their proteins, slows down the absorption. Use your BCAAs as a standalone, or you can mix them with, like Carbolin, your carbohydrate prior, but don't mix them with a whole lot of other amino acids and proteins and things that are going to compete with the absorption.
Okay, so we hadn't planned on talking about this, but I just got an email yesterday from your group. You were awarded a new patent that's going to actually affect the whole BCAA industry, right?
Yeah, I've been working on this for about, I'm going to say since the 90s. One of the things that I discovered, first of all, because amino acids are so important, I wanted to find out, are amino acids stable? And, because of my research from Crowlin, again, you got to look at stability issues. You got to look at absorption issues. And lo and behold, I found that all amino acids degrade in the stomach, and BCAAs are,
no different.
Same.
Yeah.
So again, you don't want to be losing the potency of things. So what I was able to develop, and receive my patents, is basically a new delivery system. It's an enzymatic buffered process. So yes, similar to Crowlin, it has been alkalized, but there's a whole enzymatic way of processing these amino acids so that they're going to be, say, user-friendly, more absorbable. And again, if we get in a stable amount, it only makes sense that we're going to be able to uptake more versus having something degrading and losing, 20, 10, 15, 30%,
Yeah, no, it makes perfect sense. And you can use less sometimes to get the same results. And when you use more, you'll get better results if you're getting more of it delivered into your system. How about this? Let's take a break now. When we come back, I'd like to talk about the usage of BCAAs during dieting. There's lots of discussions out there that they're great for avoiding a catabolic effect and muscle wasting if you're going to do some severe caloric restriction. Can we address that when we come back?
Absolutely.
So let's do this. Let's take one quick commercial break. We'll be right back with more Science for Humans with Dr. Jeff Galini. Stay tuned. Do you know how to properly use carbohydrates to ignite your performance in the field and in the gym? You will now, thanks to this free book by EFX Sports. The Carb User's Guide for Maximum Performance reveals why omitting carbohydrates from your diet can totally crush your gains. Ever wonder how many grams you need for your specific sport? Not anymore. We give you the critical number you need to dominate your competition. You'll even discover the super carb that's taking the athletic world by storm. You must try it to believe it. Go to getcarbolin.com/carb guide today and get your copy absolutely free. Once again, it's GetCarbolin.com/CARBGUIDE.
If you take curcumin, you need to to pay attention. The best curcumin on earth is metacurcumin. Metacurcumin is up to 277 times more bioavailable and absorbs over 6 times faster than standard curcumin supplements. Metacurcumin even outperforms those supposedly high-performance curcumin products. There's only one metacurcumin by Rev Genetics. You could save 20% off metacurcumin by clicking the banner ad at superhumanradio.com and use Superhuman Curcumin at checkout. If you want to help stop inflammation in its tracks, you need metacurcumin by Rev Genetics today.
The health and performance benefits of phytonutrients are indisputable, but getting all of your phytonutrients from your diet is difficult. That's why Prime Nutrition introduced Phytoform. Phytoform has nearly 11 grams of all the micronized veggies, fruits, fiber, minerals, and antioxidants you need. Alfalfa, organic spirulina, and chlorella, plus acai, pomegranate, goji, bilberry, blueberry, raspberry, cranberry, and papaya. Cabbage, spinach, broccoli, beet, the list goes on and on. You won't find a better, more complete fruits and greens blend anywhere. It even includes PQQ, which has been shown to improve mitochondrial biogenesis. Go to superhumanradio.com and click the Prime Nutrition banner ad today and use coupon code SHR to save 30% off. Prime Nutrition, the best or nothing.
Too much on your mind to fall asleep? Oh, no. It happens to all of us every now and then. Instead of counting sheep, count Sleep Factors, a naturopathic formulated blend that supports falling asleep naturally. No medicated numbing, no harsh interruptions of your body's natural flow. Sleep Factors work in harmony with your body and its natural rhythms, so sleep just happens naturally. Sleep Factors by Michael's Naturopathic Programs. You can find Sleep Factors and Michael's entire line of body-loving naturopathic formulations at your local health food store or online at michaelshealth.com. Practitioner formulated, practitioner approved.
For the best in real world, no nonsense, result producing and effective strength training, muscle building, and physical culture information, read Brooks Cubix books and courses. Don't delay. Sprint on over to brookscubic.com and choose from more than a dozen of the best books and courses on the market. Brooks Cubix training advice has been building strength, transforming physiques, and changing lives for more than 25 years. If you prefer ebooks, look for Brooks Cubix best-selling courses at Amazon's Kindle bookstore. Show your support for Physical Culture Radio by going to brookscubic.com right now.
Hey, this is Carl. Start your day just like I do with a high-dose lipospheric vitamin C from Live On Labs. You too can benefit from Live On Labs' lipospheric delivery system. No more pills or powders. That's outdated technology. Live On Labs has the world's most efficient vitamin delivery system, period. Learn a lot more today at liveonlabs.com and benefit from their new reduced pricing. That's liveonlabs.com, Livon labs.com.
Not all so-called deodorants are the same. Only Goodness Inside deodorant is a multi-benefit deodorant that's not only free of aluminum and toxins, but provides the body with nutrients it needs, like magnesium, pure dead sea salts, minerals, and vitamins.
I am a big fan of Only Goodness Inside, the MVDO Healthy Deodorant. I'm a businesswoman. I have to dress up at work. It goes on smooth, it dries quickly, and it never gets on my clothes.
Go to superhumanradio.com and click the Only Goodness Inside banner ad to save 25% off your order today.
Move over, superheroes. This is the Superhuman Channel.
Welcome back to Science for Humans. My co-host, Dr. Jeff Galini. We're talking about BCAAs, kind of a primer. So, Dr. J, a lot of athletes and people in general will use BCAAs when they're on very low calorie or calorie restricted diets to lose body fat, because the thought is the BCAAs will continue to stimulate mTOR and MPS, and they will lose a lot less muscle. Even though they're dieting. Now, there was a study recently published that showed that that may not be true. But what is your observations? You know, back in the day on Muscle Beach, did guys use BCAAs?
You know, no, not really. We were more into complexes because they really weren't available. But I think when you look at the studies, you know, talking about some catabolic states and, you know, the nitrogen sparing benefits of BCAAs, you really got to take a step back and look at, you know, what happens on the inside. Essentially, your muscles burn BCAA for energy. So if you are on a low-calorie diet, especially if you are on a low-carb diet, your body likes to burn aminos before it will burn body fat. Mm-hmm. So what happens is all of a sudden these aminos are starting to get dumped into the bloodstream as you are breaking down muscle, and your body will burn that for fuel. So that's why you got to be very careful to make sure that you are supplementing with BCAAs. Now, one of the tricks is that when your body is in starvation mode, you start to break down muscle, these BCAAs are flooding into the bloodstream, your system will kick into its defense mode and say, wait a minute, I don't want to burn muscle right now. So it will turn that process off, and it will switch to burning all of the fat that you have on your body. So one of the tricks is during dieting is by elevating your BCAA levels toward the end of the diet. This isn't something works for weeks and months on end. Mm-hmm. It's when you get down to the end, you increase those BCAAs. Now, this is the only time that I would recommend that you're going to go to 20, 30, 40 grams per day. You're going to space that out. And by elevating those BCAAs, your body's going to go, wait a minute, I got to keep this muscle. I got to find some fat to burn. And that's one of the secrets for really getting lean and ripped, the last 3 weeks.
So it almost sounds like that BCAAs would be good to use when you hit a plateau to kind of signal the body and fool the body into thinking that it's dipping into valuable muscle now and it needs to go back and burn fat. Another nice thing about BCAAs over other amino acid blends is there are several glucogenic amino acids out there that can easily be converted to sugars. And then there are several amino acids out there that can be converted to ketones. And isoleucine, which is the only amino acid in BCAAs that is either glucogenic or ketogenic. So that means that it can produce a little bit of glucose if your body needs it, but it can also be converted to ketones. So your body's not going to shift into desiring glucose if you're using BCAAs as your sort of between meal amino acid blend at the end of your training. I mean, at the end of your diet, as you're espousing to kind of get over that last hurdle.
Absolutely. Now, one thing I want to stress, we talked about, kind of the perfect ratio, because this is where things have done a big turn the last 2 years. And I don't know if you've looked, Carl, but go look online, look up BCAAs and see what a lot of companies are trying to sell us as BCAAs. They're full amino spectrums. They've got everything from protein. They've added glutamine. They've added glycine. Now, are those things great? Yeah, they all have a purpose, but they're less expensive than a BCAA. You want to take those BCAAs by themselves. You don't want anything competing during that absorption. By using those type of products, they work, but you aren't going to get the recuperation recovery that you are looking for from those BCAAs.
Yeah, and as you point out, these kitchen sink blends typically use less expensive components to add a volume, so you think you're getting a lot more of something that you're not. Are there any side effects to BCAAs? Have you ever heard of anybody not boding well with taking BCAAs?
They're completely safe as far as, are they going to cause some ailment? I haven't found anything, and they've been out long enough. But some of the side effects, again, if you've never used a BCAA and you go take, 5, 6, 7, 10 grams at one time, you can experience some headache. And I did this yesterday just to see if it worked, and I'm still overcoming it. So, it does work.
Okay.
You get a little headache. You can get a little dizzy, a little nausea. But those are, relatively short-term symptoms. Mm-hmm. And it just means that, again, it's a little too much for you. You got to kind of build your tolerance up. So you should never start with any product, including a BCAA, at full therapeutic dose first time out. Kind of get yourself used to taking that, let your body get used to that extra BCAA. And then, over a course of a week to 2 weeks, you can build up to, what your desired dose is going to be.
I have to give somebody a shout out. Seth Williamson, who is at All American Pharmaceutical and forces everybody to listen to Superhuman Radio all day long, is listening live today. So I have to give him a shout out because he is the keeper of the Superhuman Radio flame over in Montana. So thank you for that.
He does. He's running it through all the speakers. So, not only do they get to listen to the show live, but it's playing Probably when we leave. I don't think he turns it off. I think the ghost stuff get to hear it. So
yeah, he's great. He's great. Always makes us feel welcome when we show up. He has my name on the board, and it makes me feel special when I get there to Montana.
Yeah, thanks, Seth.
So let's round it up on BCAAs. Thumbs up on BCAAs. They're good. They're good for dieting, but only in the latter phases of dieting and only for short bursts of time. And take them around your workout before and after.
Yep, add them to your regimen. If you aren't using them, look for 2-1-1 ratio and make sure they don't contain anything but leucine, isoleucine, valine. I'm okay with some flavors and sweeteners and things, but no proteins, no other amino acids, no vitamins, because those things don't need anything in order to uptake if they're high quality.
And flavor sometimes is important because I am one of those people, like many people probably in our audience, that I'll eat something that tastes horrible if I think it's going to make me burn fat or make me add muscle. But one of the things that tastes the worst are BCAAs by far.
They are, and being that I'm working for EFX Sports, their new BCAA, which my patent ingredient is called Aminozorb. They are nasty as a neutral. So I've got them, where they taste really good. Again, you want to be able to not choke them down. You want to be able to at least somewhat enjoy them.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So are they available now? Is this, I know you just got the patent, but you've been producing this product already, right?
No, I haven't really been in full production on it. I really wanted to wait till the patent, issued. So we're looking at, I had some of the technology in their current BCAA that's out, which they call HBCAA, but the full-blown stuff will probably be mid-March. So again, keep an eye for it. And like always, if you have a question or you need a sample of anything, you can go to superhumanradio.com, look for Ask the Scientist, or go to Dr. Jeff Galini and like my page on Facebook. You can always message me there.
Yeah, and you know what? Pretty soon, I have a funny feeling we're going to be getting some free samples of the new patented buffered BCAA supplement.
Well, you can count on that.
All right.
Yeah, you can feel the difference. So you know me, man. You don't want to buy anything if you don't get to try it first.
So there you have it. BCAA 101, thanks to Dr. Jeff Galini. Dr. Jeff, thanks for being on today, brother.
Thanks, man. Take care.
Talk to you later.